नमः पादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नाम्नि नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Yes. So anyone would like to summarize what we discussed in our last session?
Yes, Prabhuji. Jagga. Jagga is most important thing. With Jagga, performance of Jagga, many side benefits we can get. Ultimately leading to liberation from material bondage. Performance of Jagga, all activities become purified.
Yes.
It is already described in Vedas. That's it. नाम यज्ञ तपस्या यज्ञ जो भी यज्ञ सभी यज्ञ हमें विष्णु को अर्पण करना चाहिए.
Alright.
Without yajna we cannot get any benefit, either demigods or supreme lord.
Great. Yes, anyone else would like to add something or would like to summarize what we discussed in our last years?
Prabhuji, we also discussed that Sankirtan Yagya is the prescribed in Kali Yuga, and even in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that in the age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence, people who are intelligent would choose to perform the Sankirtan Yagya in the age of Kali.
Yes, wonderful. Yes, someone else would like to add? All right. So in our last session, we discussed third chapter, 2 verses, 10th verse and 11th verse, how powerful our yajna is. Or basically, yajna is an act which is meant for the pleasure of the Lord, that is known as yajna. That is the simple definition of the yajna. So these yajnas is none different from Krishna himself. Yagneve Vishnuhu. Vishnu or Lord Krishna is yajna himself. So these yajnas can help us to derive the highest benefit, not only materially, even spiritually. One can get the highest benefit by performing the yajnas. Now in this Kali Yuga, in this age of Kali Yuga, what yajna is prescribed? Sankirtana yajna is prescribed. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Yagna Nam Japa Yagnosmi. Among all the yagnas, I am the Japa Yagna. So when we perform this Sankirtana Yagna means chanting the holy name of the Lord. All kind of prosperity, all kind of things one can easily derive just by performing the Sankirtana Yagna. Because this holy name is none different from the Krishna himself. So we'll continue with the third chapter, verse number 12th to 14th. Yes. Kindly join me in chanting this shloka. Ishtan bhogan hi devo deva.
Ishtan bhogani va deva.
Dashyante yagna bhavitaha.
Dasante jagga bhavita.
Erdatan apra devebhyo.
Daidattena pradayabhyo.
Jo bhungte stena eva saha.
Jo bhungati stena eva sa.
Anyone would like to chant this shloka?
Ishtano bhogano hi deva. Dasante jagga bhavita. Daidattena pradayabhyo. Jo bhungati stena eva sa.
Wonderful. Yes. Anyone else?
स्थान भोग हि वो देवा दस्यन्ते यज्ञा भाविता तैर्दत्तान् अप्रादायेभ्यो यो भुक्तेस्तेन एव सा.
Wonderful. Yes. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to try? Alright. Translation. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied the performance of yajna, sacrifice, supply all necessities to men. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. So here Krishna is mentioning what happens if somebody does not perform the yajna. So here Krishna is declaring them as a istena. Istena means a thief. Why they are thief? Suppose in this nation, in a country we are living, and we are earning money, doing some job, running a business. In some way or other, we are earning the money. And as a matter of duty and as per rules and regulations of the government, we are supposed to pay a tax decided by the government itself. So suppose we are not paying the tax as mentioned by the government, rules and regulations of the government, what will happen? Will be declared as a thief. And it is a punishable offense. One will get a required punishment or required actions will be taken against that person who is not paying the tax. Same way, here Krishna is mentioning to maintain ourselves, to sustain this creation, not only this creation, even our own self. Even our own self, these demigods has been deputed with various departments. Like for each and every department, like for water, for air, for sunlight, the different demigods has been deputies. And when we perform these yagnas, these demigods get pleased by these yagnas. And once they get pleased by these yagnas, they supply all kind of necessities. They supply all kind of necessities. And when they supply these such necessities to sustain the life, one can live peacefully. Just like a person who is stealing the tax, who is not paying the tax, he is always have a fear. How to hide his money, how to protect his money, all such kind of fear he is always going through. He is not having that peace. Same way, when we don't perform the yagna, which is given by Lord himself, what happened? We are restless. We want to be peaceful, but we are restless. We are not happy. Previous verse Krishna is mentioning that Krishna has provided these yagnas. In the beginning of the creation, the Lord of the creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifice for Vishnu. So Lord himself has provided these yagnas to all of us to sustain ourselves and this entire creation. We'll read the purport. The demigods are authorized supplying agents on the behalf of Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Therefore, they must be satisfied by the performance of prescribed yagnas. In the Vedas, there are different kinds of yagnas prescribed for different kinds of demigods. But all are ultimately offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who cannot understand what the Personality of Godhead is, sacrifice to demigod is recommended. According to different material qualities of the person concerned, different type of yagnas are recommended in the Vedas. Worship of different demigods is also on the same basis, namely according to different qualities. For example, the meat eaters are recommended to worship goddess Kali, the ghastly form of material nature, and before the goddess, the sacrifice of animals is recommended. But for those who are in the mode of goodness, the transcendental worship of Vishnu is recommended. But ultimately, all yagnas are meant for gradual promotion to the transcendental position. For ordinary men, at least 5 yagnas known as Pancha Mahayagna are necessary. So here, Prabhupada is very nicely mentioning, just like in a kingdom or in a nation, a king or a government deputes various ministers to take care of various departments like agriculture department, education department, finance department. There are various departments which has been deputed by the government or the king himself. Same way, after this creation, Lord has deputed various demigods so that our needs can be fulfilled, just like those ministries are there. Suppose education ministry is there. Education ministry has to take care of the education of the citizens. They should get sufficient education. They should get up-to-date education. That is the goal of the education ministry. Same way, these demigods, they take care of all the living entities. They supply all what is required to maintain the living entities. Now, just like in a kingdom, a king has various ministers, and those ministers look after of the citizens, and they also collect the taxes. Okay, you have sufficient yield this year, you have sufficient agriculture yield this year, give this much tax. Like that, minister, they collect the tax also. Same way, when these yagnas are performed in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, in which these demigods get their share. So these demigods get pleased and they supply whatever is necessary to maintain this human form of life, to maintain this human body. Now, what happened? These yagnas are completely meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Krishna. But people who are situated in different modes, there are 3 modes. What are the 3 modes? Yes, anyone?
Goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Yes. So people are situated in these 3 modes, sometime in goodness, sometime in passion, sometime in ignorance. So that thing is always happening. They are situated in these 3 modes. So based on these 3 modes, they are worshipping different demigods. Like the person who is situated in mode of ignorance, always his mind and senses will be hankering after some liquor or eating some meat or eating some kind of abominable thing. His mind will be hankering after all such things. So for such person, in the Vedas, there is a prescribed method by which he can eat meat, and satisfy his senses, and gradually he can make progress. Now, sometimes people argue, Vedas also encourages eating meat. So is it okay? Is it okay? No. This eating meat is meant for those who cannot regulate or control their senses. Just like there are different grades of class. Suppose a child is studying in a first grade, somebody is studying in 5th grade, somebody is studying in 10th grade, and somebody is in graduation, post-graduation, and PhD. So the student who is studying in graduation we cannot equate that student with the first grade student. We cannot equate that student to the first grade student, because first grade student is at very lower level of understanding. He is just learning A for apple, B for boy, 1 plus 1 equal 2. He is learning all these things. Whereas a person who is in graduation, he is trigonometry and various such things he is learning and utilizing. So same way, our Vedas are so vast, our Sanatan Dharma is so vast, it accommodates all different level of people who are situated on different level. It accommodates all of them, and based on that, Vedas prescribed particular solution for them. Just like a person who is fond of eating meat. So what Vedas prescribe? On the day of Amavasya, in the midnight, he himself has to sacrifice a goat. Only goat meat he can have. He has to sacrifice a goat, and before sacrificing goat, he has to chant the mantra in the ear of goat. What mantra he has to chant? Mamsa. Mamsa means, this life I am sacrificing you. Next life you will get opportunity to sacrifice me. Then he sacrifices that goat, kills that goat, offer that meat to goddess Kali. In that way, once in a month he can have meat. Once in a month he can have a meat. So, based on different level of understanding, different solutions are provided to the people. But highest thing is definitely to act for the pleasure of the Lord Krishna. That is the highest level of understanding. So Prabhupada has given that opportunity to all of us. We'll continue forward. One should know, however, that all the necessities of life that human society required are supplied by the demigods, agents of the Lord. No one can manufacture anything. Take for the example, all the eatables of human society. These eatables include grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, sugar, etc. For the person in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for the non-vegetarians like meats, etc., none of which can be manufactured by men. Then again, take for example heat, light, water, air, etc., which are also necessities of life. None of them can be manufactured by the human society. Without the Supreme Lord, there can be no profuse sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, breeze, etc., without which no one can live. Obviously, our life is dependent on the supply from the Supreme Lord. Even for our manufacturing enterprises, we require so many raw materials like metal, sulfur, mercury, manganese, and so many essentials, all of which are supplied by the agents of the Lord, with the purpose that we should make proper use of them to keep ourselves fit and healthy for the purpose of self-realization, leading to the ultimate goal of life, namely liberation from the material struggle for existence. This aim of life is attained by performance of yagnas. If we forget the purpose of human form of life and simply take supplies from the agents of Lord for sense gratification and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation, certainly we become thief. And therefore, we are punished by the laws of material nature. A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim in life. The gross materialist thieves have no ultimate goal of life. They are simply directed to sense gratification, nor do they have knowledge of how to perform yagnas. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yagna, namely Sankirtana yagna, which can be performed by anyone in the world who accepts the principle of Krishna consciousness. So very wonderful things Prabhupada has highlighted in this. para. So if we see, all the resources that we get to sustain are provided by the nature, and that nature is directly under the control of the Supreme Lord. Devi Esha Gunmayi Mama Maya Duratya. And Krishna is also saying that this nature, material nature, is Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suyate Sa Characharam. This Prakriti is working under the direction of Supreme Lord. Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. And when we serve the Supreme Lord, when we satisfy the Supreme Lord, when we chant His holy name, perform the yagna, so what happens? This nature, Prakriti, provides all kind of resources in abundance. Provides all kind of resources in abundance. Just like suppose somebody is working for a government department, is working for the government. Now he is utilizing some resources in the service of government. So what will happen? Government will supply all kind of resources which are necessary for him to serve government even more effectively. Suppose he needs a car, government will provide a nice car or vehicle for him. He needs a nice residential place, government will provide that. Government will provide nice education for the child. Everything government will take care so that he can serve government in more effective way. Same way, when we serve Krishna, so what happened? This Prakriti, which is acting under the direction of Krishna, supply all kinds of required resources. Grains, fruits, vegetables, everything, even gold, all kind of such valuable stones, metals will be provided in abundance. Will be provided in abundance. That is very simple formula. Now we see as Kali Yuga is progressing, neither there is a good sunlight, sun is like burning. In summer we can experience there is no proper yield. There is no proper agriculture yield. Cows are not supplying sufficient milk. So as Kali Yuga is progressing, all these things one can easily experience. One can experience why it is happening, because there is a lack of yagnas. People are not acting for the pleasure of the Lord. That's why all these things are happening. But as soon as one performs the yagna, everything is supplied very easily. Everything is supplied very easily. So here Krishna is mentioning thief. Krishna is saying those who are not performing yagnas, they are like thief. And in second chapter we saw Krishna mentions one such a strong word known as kripana. That we have got this human form of life, but we are not utilizing it for self-realization purpose. So we are kripana. Same way, all these natural resources, even this human form of life is provided for what purpose? To make a spiritual advancement, to realize our own self. For that purpose, this human form of life has been facilitated or provided to us. But if we simply waste this human form of life, we are no more than a thief. We are a thief. Alright, so we'll move to the next verse. Yagna shishtana santo muchyante sarvakil vishay bunjante te tvam agham papam ye pachanti atma karanat. Translation: the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So here Krishna is mentioning a very strong thing. He is making a kind of conclusion. So what conclusion he is making? Those who eat Yagna Shishta. What is Yagna Shishta? Yagna Shishta is the food which has been offered first in Yagna, or in other words, the food which has been offered to Krishna is known as Yagna Shishta. So Santa means devotees of the Lord. They are free from all kinds of sin, all kind of papa. Or what kind of papa he is telling? Krishna is telling Agamma papa. Agamma means very grievous sins. Grievous sins such as killing of Brahmana, killing of cow, killing of a spiritual master Guru, killing of Guru Patni, killing of a king, killing of a Pita, Pitra Hatya. So all these are counted as Agamma Papa. So one who takes Yagna Shishta, or food which is offered to Krishna, or in simple words, one who takes prasadam, is completely free from all such kinds of sins. And those who don't offer or prepare for their own self, they simply eat sin. Here Krishna is telling Atma Karanat, for their own personal sense enjoyment. Those who prepare food, they are just simply eating sin. Previous this verse we saw, here it is mentioned Ahara Shuddho Sattva Shuddhi. So what happened when we eat food which is offered to Krishna, when we eat that prasadam, so what happens? Ahara Shuddho. By eating prasadam which is purified, what happens? Sattva Shuddhi happen. When Sattva Shuddhi happens, Dhruva Smriti. Sattva Shuddhi means purification of the self. Our own existence get purified. When our existence get purified, what happens? Dhruva Smriti. Our intelligence get purified. And when our intelligence get purified, Smriti Lambhe Sarva Granthinam. When our intelligence get purified means our now intelligence is very, very conducive to understand spiritual subject matters. Our brain develop finer tissues. Our brain develop finer tissues by which we can easily understand the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. We can easily understand all these Vedic literatures. And when we can understand these Vedic literatures, what happens? Vipra Mokshaha. We can easily attain liberation and we can come out of this bondage of material existence. We can come out of the bondage of birth, death, old age and disease. We can come out of that cycle simply by eating that prasadam, Yagna Shishta. So this prasadam, Yagna Shishta is very, very powerful. This prasadam not only nourishes our body, it acts on a spiritual platform at soul level. A soul get nourishes. Our soul get nourishes just by eating the prasadam. And one can easily make advancement just by eating prasadam or Yagna Shishta. We'll read further. We'll read the purport. The devotees of the Supreme Lord, or the persons who are in Krishna consciousness, are called Santaha. And they are always in love with the Lord as described in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokyanti. The Santas, being always in a compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasures, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yagnas in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, etc. And these performances of yagnas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves but are also eaters of all kinds of sins. How can a person be happy if he is both a thief and sinful? It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all aspects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtana Yagna in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. Very beautifully, Prabhupada has mentioned. First, Prabhupada is describing who is known as Santaha, who is known as devotee. Once I was traveling, I remember this thing. I was traveling and I met one person. He was asking, who is known as Santa? Who is a devotee? So I told, a devotee, as per Brahma, devotee means Prema Anjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokyanti. A devotee is the one whose eyes are always pointed with love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is always carrying Krishna in his heart. That is a definition of a Santa. Sant does not mean a devotee does not, or a sadhu does not mean he is wearing some dress, just a dress, having long beard. Not necessary. Even a person who is living in a life of grastha, wearing pant and shirt, may be a even more qualified devotee. It is a matter of consciousness, what kind of consciousness one is carrying. Based on that, one is known as Santaha or a devotee. So, these devotee as we have already discussed, devotee means what? They act for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Just like an employee for an organization is always serving that organization. That's why he is an employee of so and so organization. Suppose he is not serving that organization, so he is no more employee of that organization. He is no more employee of that organization. Same way, devotee is the one who is always serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So how the devotee is serving? That is what Prabhupada is describing here. Such devotees always perform yagnas in different modes of devotional service. There are 9 modes of devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj explains in Srimad Bhagavatam. It starts with Shravanam Kirtanam.
Vishnu.
So Shravanam means hearing. So how Shravanam is Kirtan? How Shravanam is Yagna? When you hear about the Supreme Lord, it is a Yagna. Suppose if you don't hear about Supreme Lord, you hear about something else. You hear about some, celebrity. You hear about somebody else. It is not a Yagna. It becomes Yagna when you hear about Krishna. Because when we hear about Krishna, it pleases Lord Krishna. Kirtanam, when we chant His holy name, when we glorify Supreme Lord, it is a yagna. It is a yagna. When we remember Him, it is a yagna. When we are serving Him, worshipping Him, it is a yagna. It is a yagna. So all these yagnas or actions that we perform for the pleasure of the Lord, these actions help us. These actions help us to be free from all kind of contamination of these material modes of nature. Not only that, it also wipe away our sinful reactions. It also wipe away our sinful reaction. Just like a person who is deceased, is suffering from some sickness. So when that person is admitted into the hospital, the treatment is going on. And when that treatment is going on, he is taking various medicines as prescribed by the doctor. He is taking medicines. So when he is taking that medicine, what is happening? He is getting cure. He is getting cure. And as prescribed by the doctor, he is also taking a particular diet. And that diet is helping him to recover from the disease. He is getting that strength. He is getting that strength to recover from that disease. So same way, when we perform our actions for the pleasure of the Lord, it helps us to get free from the disease of this material existence, bhava roga. One can get free from the bhava roga, disease of this material existence. But suppose that same person who is sick, he is not taking any medicines, he is eating whatever he is liking. So what will happen? His condition will get worse. He will get implicated more and more. Same way, if we don't perform yagna or the actions for the pleasure of the Lord, what will happen? We will get implicated in this material existence. We will get implicated in this material existence. We will get more and more sinful reactions. So Krishna is giving medicine here for all of us. He is giving medicine. So the person who is sick, here we can see how can a person be happy if he is thief and sinful. Same way, if a person is sick, he cannot be happy. He cannot continue his regular work also. So same way, if we are having those sinful reactions, we are suffering from sinful reactions, and we are a thief, we cannot be happy or peaceful in this material world. Or just like a person who is having black money, he is stealing away the money from the government, tax money from the government, he cannot be peaceful. Even though he is living a very luxurious life, always some kind of anxiety and fear is there in his mind. Always that fear is there in his mind. Therefore, in order to people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform easiest process, that is Sankirtana Yagna. Now why Sankirtana Yagna? Because in other yugas there were qualified brahmanas, yagnik brahmanas. In other yugas, all the resources which are required to perform yagnas were easily available. Like a particular kind of ghee is required to perform yagna. Vessels are required to perform yagna. So many such resources are required to perform yagna. Was easily available, and in the purest form they were available. But in Kali Yuga, everything is full of contamination. You go and you try to get pure ghee, from the market, it is not easy. Even though you spend 3,000-4,000, still there will be some kind of doubt whether it is pure or not, right? So what to speak about performing such yagnas? So that's why Krishna very mercifully, Krishna is known as Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu. He is the ocean of mercy. So that ocean of mercy, Krishna in his form of mercy incarnation, known as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is very, very merciful, Mahavadanyaya, he has come and given us this Sankirtana Yagna, which does not require any resources. Anyone can easily, peacefully can perform this Sankirtana Yagna and attain the highest level of happiness and highest benefit from this Sankirtan Yagna. We'll move forward. Annad bhavanti bhutani pragnad anna sambhava yagnad bhavanti pragneyo yagna karma samudbhavaha. So here Krishna will read the translation. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rain. Rains are produced by performance of yagna, sacrifice, and yagna is born of prescribed duties. So here Krishna is explaining, he is mentioning the cycle. This verse and next verse is, if we observe, he is mentioning the cycle. Cycle how we living entities need food grains to sustain ourselves. And these food grains are produced from rain. When sufficient rain happens, food grain produces and we can be, satisfied, we can sustain our own self. And these rains are produced when yagnas are performed. When yagnas are performed, these rains happen profusely and we can get grains. Now yagna, how yagna is born? Yagna is born of a prescribed duties. So when we perform our prescribed duty, earlier sessions you might be remembering, prescribed duties, there is a varnashrama system. Suppose a Kshatriya is there. Kshatriya prescribed duty is Shati Trayate iti Kshatriya. He is acting for the pleasure of the Lord. How? By protecting the dharma. He is protecting the dharma. He is acting for the pleasure of the Lord. That is the duty of Kshatriya. Same way, a Brahmana is acting for the pleasure of the Lord. And now, over a period of time, this Varna Ashrama system is destroyed. So now what is our prescribed duty? We can understand our prescribed duty very easily as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Mame vamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Krishna is telling, we are his part and parcel. And being a part and parcel of Krishna, what is our duty? Jivera Swarup hoye Nityera Krishna Das. We Jiva, we living entity, we are the eternal servant of the Lord. We have that opportunity to serve the Lord eternally. So our prescribed duty, primary duty is what? To serve Krishna. And that is what is yagna. That is what is yagna. So we read the purport. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, a great commentator on Bhagavad Gita, writes as follows: Ye indradi anga tava vasisthitam yagnam sarveshwaram vishnum abhyachara tacheshasam ashnanti tena taddeha yantaranam sampadayanti te santah sarve sasya bhakatah sarva kilvisher anadi kala anadikala vividher atmanubhava pratibandhikir nikhilale paper vimuchyate. The Supreme Lord, who is known as Yagna Purusha, or the personal beneficiary of all sacrifices, is the master of all demigods who serves him as the different limbs of the body serves the whole. Demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, etc. are appointed officers who manage material affairs, and Vedas direct sacrifices to satisfy these demigods so that they may be pleased to supply air, light, and water sufficiently to produce food grains. When Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods, who are different limbs of the Lord, are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. For this reason, devotees of the Lord who are in Krishna consciousness offer food to Krishna and then eat, a process which nourishes the body spiritually. By such action, not only the past sinful actions in the body vanquished, but the body becomes immunized to all contamination of material nature. When there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such an epidemic. Similarly, food offered to the Lord Vishnu and then taken by us make us sufficiently resistant to the material affection, and one who is accustomed to this practice is called a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness who eats only food offered to Krishna can counteract all reactions of past material infections which are impediment to the progress of self-realization. On the other hand, one who does not do so continues to increase the volume of sinful reaction, and this prepares the next body to resemble hogs and dogs who suffer the resultant reaction of all sins. The material body is full of contamination, and one who is immunized by accepting prasadam of the Lord is saved from the attack, whereas one who does not do so becomes subject to contamination. So very beautifully Prabhupada has mentioned here. First he has mentioned about Udra Narayana. Udra Narayana is basically, if you supply food to your stomach, your entire body is nourished. Automatically, you no need to supply food separately to different limbs of the body. You just give food to the stomach will supply and nourish the entire body. Same way, if we serve Krishna, all the demigods will be pleased. Automatically, they will be pleased. And that is the way of worshipping demigods. That is the way of worshipping demigods. Then further Prabhupada is mentioning that this eating prasadam or food which is offered to Krishna, that Yagna Shishtha, can save us from the greatest dangers of this material existence. It can save us even from falling down into another species of life. It can wipe away our all sinful reactions just by eating prasadam. Not only previous, but it says even present, whatever modes of material nature are acting upon us, it will save from those modes also. Otherwise, one who is simply eating for his own satisfaction, for his own sense satisfaction, he is eating sin, and by eating such sin, what will happen? He will fall down and he will take birth into other species like hogs and dogs. He will take birth into such species. So what happens? Why it is? Because even a piece of grain, just like we eat chapati or rice, that grain also has a potency to fructify into a plant and further produce the life. So now when we grind or roast that grain, when we eat that what happens? We are killing that potency to create a new life. So we get implicated with sinful reaction. So that's why when we offer everything to the Lord, especially the scripture says, food which is made of food grains, like with the combination of food grains, milk, vegetables, fruits, leaf, these 5 things, we can offer it to Krishna. And such food is always free from all kinds of sinful reactions, and it purifies the existence of self also. We'll read further. Food grains or vegetables are factually eatables. The human beings eat different kind of food grains, vegetables, fruits, etc. And the animals eat the refuse of food grains and vegetables, grass, plants, etc. Human beings are accustomed to eating meat, and flesh must also depend upon the production of vegetation in order to eat the animals. Suppose a person who eats meat, so that person also has to depend upon vegetation, because that animal eats the meat. Suppose he eats some cow or something, some such a animal, he is eating goat or something. So goat has to eat what? Goat has to eat some grass. Some fodder goat has to eat. So ultimately he is depend upon vegetables or natural resources. Therefore, ultimately we have to depend upon the production of the field, not on the production of big factories. The field production is due to sufficient rain from the sky. And field production happens when there is a rain from the sky. And such rains are controlled by demigods such as Indra, sun and moon. And they are all servants of the Lord. The Lord can be satisfied by yagnas, by sacrifices. Therefore, one cannot perform them, will find himself in scarcity. That is the law of nature. One who does not perform yagna is always will be in some kind of scarcity. Just like if we reflect back, we are staying in this Bharatvarsha, India. We were at a point of time we were known as a golden bird. Why? Because there was sufficiently actions were performed which are aligned with dharma. So such actions pleases the Lord, and when Lord is pleased, this Prakriti, material nature, profusely provides all kind of resources, whether it is agriculture production or rare metals, stones, spices, whatever it may be. All such resources will be profusely available. Now, over a period of time, as adharma is progressing, all these things are forgotten and there is a chaos in the society. There is a scarcity in the society. Some countries, they are facing some famine. They are going through shortage of some grains. All that things are happening because there is no sufficient performance of yagna. A living entity to sustain himself requires 2 things. One is some food and one is he has to work. One is food, second is he has to work. If he is working for the pleasure of Lord and he is eating the prasadam which is offered to the Lord, he is always situated in blissful condition. Not only that, materially, even he makes spiritual progress also. Yagna, specifically the Sankirtana Yagna prescribed for this age, must be performed to save us at least from the scarcity of food supply. So if we see this Sankirtana Yajna is so powerful that it can help us to drive away the shortage of food supply. Just like by performing this Sankirtana Yajna, by the blessings of the Lord, we are able to run a world largest midday meal scheme through Akshay Patra, serving more than 20 lakh students every day, which is not at all possible. It's completely inconceivable. Just by thinking of that number, it becomes very inconceivable how such thing can happen. But it is all happening by the grace of the Lord because we are performing this Sankirtana Yajna. We are performing this Sankirtana Yajna. All those children, they are getting that prasadam of the Lord. So, yes, anyone has any questions or anything to share or ask? Yes, any questions?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for this wonderful session that you gave us. There is one point in my doubt that you mentioned Panch Mahayagna. What are those
Yes.
Panch Mahayagnas?
So there are 5 yagnas which are prescribed for our purification. I'll share that list in the group also. I'll share that list with you. Yeah, I'll share those 5 yagnas, Panch Mahayagnas.
And Prabhuji, that 9 steps to of devotional service, na? Samarpan.
Yes,
Nine
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nirvednam. So it starts from Shravanam. Shravanam means hearing. Kirtanam means glorifying the Lord or chanting the holy name of the Lord. Then comes
Samarpan.
Samarpanam,
Samara.
Smaranam. Smaranam means remembering the Lord. Then comes Pada
Archanam.
Sevanam, Archanam, Pada Sevanam, Vandanam. Archanam is basically performing the seva to the Arch Vigraha. Then comes Vandanam, means offering our prayers to the Lord. Then comes Padasevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Dasyam and Sakyam. Dasyam means acting as a servant of the Lord. Sakyam means worshipping Lord in the mood of his friend, like Lord Krishna, Arjuna served. So these are the 9 types of devotional services. So it starts devotional services, Prabhupada says, and Acharya says it starts from Shravanam. First is Shravanam. From Shravanam, it starts by hearing. Our devotional service starts. Shravanam and Kirtanam, these are very, very essential aspect of a devotional service. Integral part of devotional service or bhakti is Shravanam and Kirtanam. Yes. Any other question?
Prabhuji, I have 2 questions.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, in the verse 12, we read the purpose of human life is to realize our own self.
Correct.
So my question is, like, if the purpose of a human life is to realize our own selves, so why most of the people in the world are aloof to it, are not like they don't know about it. Even in our consciousness, this knowing is not there. And even in the life of a devotee, like most of the time are know about it, but because of the material nature, we get invested into it and we sometimes divert from it. Like if the purpose is so much clear, why everybody is so aloof to it? Why ignorant to it?
Correct. Yes. Your second question?
And my second question is related to the last verse that we read, or the 13th verse. So in this particular thing, Krishna is referring to performance of yagnas, so that we can get the food. So how like for if I'm doing preparing a food for the personal enjoyment, So
Hmm.
how it is different than when I'm offering it to the God and then consuming it? In last class or maybe last class, you said that if I want to eat something,
Hmm.
I would make, but offer it to the God first.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
here in these two verses, Krishna is telling us to perform our duties, which is in turn helping to produce, like if I'm performing yajnas, which
Hmm.
is helping to produce the physical produce.
Hmm.
So when I'm offering to the God, I'm not doing anything activity which is helping to produce that vegetation. But
Hmm.
in the verses, actually, Krishna is saying that perform your duties so that it would help to produce the vegetation. So my offering to Krishna is not doing any physical activity that would be. I can understand a devotional aspect of it.
Hmm.
But what is the physical aspect of? I'm offering the food. It is not helping
Hmm.
to produce more vegetation.
Correct. So your first question, just what it was, just can you just give a little hint? I forgot. Just slip
The
away from.
purpose, the purpose of
Yeah,
human life.
purpose. Correct. Correct. So this is what Shastra says. This is what sages of Naimisharanya they were saying. This is what Narad Muni he was asking to Brahma. What was that? Manda sumanda mateo, manda bhagya pradita. The symptom of this Kali Yuga is what? People will be manda sumanda. Mateo. Mateo means their intelligence will be very, very less intelligent they will be. People will be very less intelligent. Less intelligent in what way? They will not have such inquiries. Inquiries like, who am I? What is the purpose of my life? Why I am suffering? Why all these things are happening to me? Why I am controlled by different things? I don't want old age, but I am getting old age. I don't want disease, I am getting disease. All these questions will not strike to the people who are in Kali Yuga. That's why people of this Kali are very, very less intelligent. And further it says, Mand sumand mateo, mand bhagya upardita. Their bhagya is also very upardita. They're very unfortunate people. They are very unfortunate people. Anytime there is no certainty in the life, there is a lot of uncertainty in the life. They are not getting such inquiries. Even though they get some inquiries, also many times they get cheated. So, what is the solution? What is the solution? This is what sages of Naimisharanya asking. Narad Muni is asking. So that is why this Kali Yuga, it is a symptom of Kali Yuga. Effect of Kali Yuga is this only, that we will not have such inclination towards spirituality. That's what Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita. Bhunam janmanamante yanvan mam prapadyante. After many, many lives, somebody will understand. And before that, he is saying, Manushya nam sahasreshu yashit katiti siddhahe yatatam api siddhanam. Out of thousands of men, somebody will try to understand. And out of those thousands, somebody will actually understand. So this inquiries, athato brahma jignasa, getting such inquiries is very, very rare. And after getting those inquiries, uh, answers to such inquiries is even more rare, because one may not get bona fide spiritual master. So getting bona fide spiritual master is also even more rare. So in that way, if we see, we are very, very fortunate. All of us are very, very fortunate that we have got opportunity to come in direct association with Prabhupada, who has given and presented this knowledge about the self so easily. So we should, all of us should take that opportunity and perfect our life in this life itself. We should realize ourselves. And in short, how we can realize ourselves? That we being the part and parcel of the Lord, we are the part and parcel of the Lord. That is the first step to realize the self. Then second is, I being the part and parcel of the Lord, what is my duty? Just like sugar duty or dharma is to give sweetness. So I being the jiva, atma, this soul, what is my duty? My duty is to render service to the Lord, to satisfy that Supreme Lord. And when we render that devotional service to the Lord, we develop that relationship with the Lord. So these are different steps to realize the self. Now coming to, hope this is clear. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you for that.
Yes. Your second question is, Krishna says about yagna, right? So how my offering to Lord, suppose I've made some food stuff for the Lord. I've made suppose some puri, chole, or some burger, pizza, whatever it is. I've made something and I'm offering to the Lord. So how does that helps to grow more vegetation? So suppose in your house, your mother, she is cooking, preparing foodstuffs for yourself, for her husband, and she is preparing food for entire family. So when she is preparing food for the entire family, what will happen? Over a period of time, the raw material groceries will get over. So what your father will do? He will go to the market, he will purchase more and more groceries, so that there is no scarcity in the house, and this feeding program in the house is going on nicely. Same way, when we offer the food to the Supreme Lord Krishna, what happened? The nature which is working under the direction of Supreme Lord, it provides all natural resources very easily, so that there is no scarcity in serving the Lord. Lord Brahma says, Lakshmi Sahastra, crores and crores, millions and millions of Lakshmis are engaged in the service of the Lord. So when we take up devotional service, when we serve our Supreme Lord, what happens? Mother Lakshmi, she empowers us. She gives us that strength to serve the Lord in more efficient way. Just like the example of Sudama. When Sudama, he offered the 3 morsels of rice to Krishna. So what happened? Mother Lakshmi, who is none other than Rukmani Devi, she has to facilitate all kind of facility to Sudama, so that Sudama can serve even more, much better way. So same way, even though we are preparing, suppose we are purchasing some groceries from the market and then preparing some food stuffs and offering to the Lord, when such groceries are offered and food stuffs are offered to the Lord, that entire things, get purified, and nature produces even more in abundance. Nature produces resources even more in abundance, so that there is no scarcity in serving the Lord. Hope this helps you to understand.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you for that.
Yes.
So,
Any
Prabhu,
other
I
questions?
have one question.
Yes.
In another words, Prabhu, that means whatever the duties we are doing right now,
Hmm.
that is also a kind of a yagna only. Means we are like farmer can have his duty is to produce means grow the grains.
Correct.
So that is his duty, and he is performing that way. Our duty may be something else. We are doing something else. But
Hmm.
is it also a kind of yagna? Because can we count it as yagna?
So, like as mentioned, farmer is growing some food grains,
Yes.
and now after getting that food grains, how he is utilizing those food grains, that decides
He's
whether it is a yagna or not. Suppose that food grains he is utilizing it for some sense gratification, like people are purchasing from him, and those people
Mhm.
are not at all serving Lord
Mhm.
or not at all
No.
worshipping
Mhm.
Krishna. So that is not considered as yagna. Whereas
Okay.
that farmer who has grown that agriculture food grains, he has offered first his batch to the Supreme Lord,
Mhm.
it becomes yagna. Or suppose he has not offered, but a person who has purchased food grain from him and he has
Okay.
offered that food grains to the Supreme Lord,
Yes.
as then also it becomes yagna, but he get not direct, not direct sukruti, he get ajnana sukruti, agyata sukruti he gets. So
Okay.
he get indirectly, he get blessings of the Lord. Indirectly, he has performed the yagna, not directly,
Okay.
but
So
indirectly he
we
has performed the yagna. Yes.
So when we buy from farmer from the market and we make prasadam for Prabhu
Mm,
and offer
mm,
to the Lord, and
mm.
then we eat the same thing, it's kind of yagna, you can
Yes,
say.
you are participating in direct yagna, but that farmer is participating in indirect yagna.
Directly.
He is also
Okay.
getting benefit, but
Mhm.
not that much the benefit you are getting.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Even that land on which that grains are grown, that land also get benefited.
Mhm.
That land also get benefited. Yes. Any other questions?
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes.
Actually, three of them. So, the
Hmm.
first question I have is that we have talked in the 3.12 verse that
Hmm.
the agents of Vishnu are demigods. Okay,
Hmm.
and many a times in Gita itself, we hear about Vishnu and Krishna interchangeably, but since the childhood, we have heard Vishnu as one of the demigods between Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So I would like to know what is the difference between that Vishnu and this Vishnu which we are talking about.
Hmm.
So this is my first question.
Hmm.
And then I also have a question regarding one of the examples that you gave. When a person who is a meat eater, he, as per Veda, he does the yagya in the Amavas, and then he also does that every month, right? So is this person getting birth of that particular uh, sacrificed being every time
Hmm.
and getting sacrificed, or
Hmm.
he has a chance to get liberated also? Because many
Hmm.
of us are doing the same thing. We are not doing that yagana, but we are eating meat,
Hmm.
or we have ate meat in the past.
Hmm.
So whoever is not knowing that particular reality, that it is not good, it's one of our regulative principle. So will they be having that kind of karmic reaction every birth?
Hmm.
That is my second question. And the third one is related to the only question that one of our devotees also asked about Mahayagna. So
Hmm.
it is said by Prabhupada that there are five Mahayagna,
Hmm.
and he also says that Sankirtan Yagya is also required in
Hmm.
this Kali Yuga. So
Hmm.
are we actually required to do those 5 year Mahayagna, or it's not required? Because that he says very clearly that you, as should ordinary person, should at least do these 5 yagna recommended.
Hmm.
That is Panch Mahayagna, that one.
Okay. So first, sorry, first question. Just can you? I just yes,
Vishnu and Krishna.
correct. So that Vishnu, which is referred here, is the same Vishnu, which is we know that Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So we know Vishnu as a because the thing is over a period of time, lot of things we misunderstand and or has been presented to us in a different way or has been misinterpreted. So that Vishnu is referring to Krishna only, first thing. And because people are, as mentioned, to less intelligent people, if you try to, just like suppose a person who is, or a student who is studying in a first grade, if you try to reach him trigonometry or rocket science, everything will go on top of his head. Nothing will strike to him. So same way, this Vishnu is none other than Krishna. Krishna's expansion itself is Vishnu. Now coming to second question, that is, what was the second question?
The one who is doing sacrifice in Amavas, that one.
Yes. So it is mentioned, suppose somebody has killed or sacrificed that goat on the day of Amavasya, as per Vedas he is doing. So the number of goats he has sacrificed, he'll get that many births he has to take as a goat, and then he has to go through such births, birth after birth. Suppose in his life he has to sacrifice 10 goats, so he has to take 10 time births as a goat, or even based on his karma, maybe little less or maybe little more. Now, we being taking up this process of devotional service, Prabhupada says, if you follow the regulative principles of devotional service, even though you have performed the grievous act, here Krishna is also mentioning, see, Krishna is also mentioning the same thing. You have performed the grievous sin. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is first offered in the sacrifice. So same way, the devotees who practice the regulative principles of bhakti which are given by Prabhupada, even though in the past they have performed various grievous acts or sins, they are forgiven. They are forgiven. Here if you see Agamma Papa is referred to grievous sins. If somebody has performed, he is forgiven as soon as he takes up the process of Bhakti Yoga. And it is mentioned, a person who kills a cow, he has to take birth as a cow, as many as hairs are there on the body of cow. Suppose on the body of cow there are 1 crore hairs, so he has to take 1 crore time birth as a cow, then he will get human, based on his karma, then he will get his next birth or a human form of life, then he may get opportunity to come out of the cycle of birth and death. So that's why Krishna says some places of in Bhagavad Gita that that's why Krishna, the mood of Krishna is don't get entangled into these things, karma bandhana, come out of this. Krishna is again and again telling, come out of this by performing devotional service. He is very, eager, very compassionately, he is telling, don't get entangled into these things. You come out of this material existence. Ma meti, come to me. I'll take care. And yes, third question, I'll share the list of those 5 yagnas. And when Sankirtana yagna is performed, even though any other yagna is performed or not performed, or while all those yagnas are performed, if Sankirtana yagna is performed with those yagnas, that is the perfect kind of yagna. Just like when we install the deities, when we do prana pratishtha of the Lord, there are a lot of rituals are happening. But when we perform those rituals along with Sankirtana yagna, that is the perfection of all kinds of rituals. Even though there is some kind of truti or some kind of mistake is there while performing those rituals, if Sankirtana yagna is performed, everything is easily forgiven. Everything is easily forgiven, or in a way ignored by the Lord, mercifully ignored by the Lord. So this Sankirtana yagna is very, very powerful. In spite of all activities or rituals or yagnas, if one simply performs Sankirtana yagna, his life is successful. Yes, hope this helps you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, any other question or anything? All right. So already it's little late, so we'll close here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki,
जय
Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
जय
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.